Hey, it's Bill Gross, the LA probate expert, and I'm here with my colleague Patricia Castillo. Say hi, Patricia.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you're here joining us today for our homebuyer workshop.
And also here with a new friend or newer friend, Jeffrey Igel. Jeffrey is with On Track Credit Path. Say hi, Jeffrey.
Mhm.
Hi, everybody. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me attend.
And Jeffrey, where are you coming from geographically? Where are you located right now?
Well, I'm actually out of Chicago. We have a home office in Downers Grove, and we actually have an office outside of Phoenix.
Very nice. And Patricia Castillo, where are you at today? In your car? Where are you driving?
I'm in Los Angeles. I'm actually close to you, Bill. I'm over here on the west
Hey.
side today. Yes.
West Side, Best Side. Very nice. Nice to have you. I didn't
Yes.
know. You didn't ask me for a hall pass when you came over here.
I know I didn't. Next time I will.
Okay. So look, glad to have you guys here today. And this is our homebuyer seminar. We do this every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and everything else in the middle, including, I guess, 7 p.m. in Chi-Town and I guess, Central time. We do this every week, and we cover different topics to help people who want to buy a house, get their first home, or upgrade to a new home, and really, or even investing in property, but to some degree, the process is the same. And so each week we cover one of the topics, and really there's 7 different topics we cover in order, and we cycle through them, repeat, but try to go deeper each time. So this week we want to talk about home prices, inventory, and market conditions. Do you have a 40,000 foot view? And the reason why that's one of the topics is my experience in working with first-time home buyers. I've been in this business since 1986, before most of you guys were born. And the reason why this is important is nobody wants to, we all grew up playing musical chairs, nobody wants to buy the last house before the music stops, right? The problem is we really don't know when that's going to be. I learned early on in my business life not to try to guess the market, but make decisions each day based on the current conditions. Where people got hurt in the 2008, 9, 10 timeframe of real estate was when they got loans that they couldn't qualify for properties they couldn't really afford. They thought they could, they were maybe told they could, maybe misled into thinking they could. And when inevitably the interest rates went up dramatically and they couldn't afford them, what happened was people stopped being able to make the payments, and they went to renters to rent the properties, and they went into foreclosure. And one after another that happened to. So what's not true then, that's true perhaps for you today, is buying a house a financially feasible or financially proper activity or not? So it's important to look at the conditions of the market, feel comfortable with where we are in the marketplace so that you as a buyer can make the right decision. And part of that gets down to what you can afford, your income. So back in 2008 and 9, you could lie and say you had income you didn't have, or in some cases didn't even have to state your income. There was state income, and there was no income, no disclosure loans, where people didn't have to say what they made. And there was a movie about this called The Big Short, which is very accurate, I think, where literally these guys went into a strip bar. Nothing wrong with strippers, but there were strippers in that movie who owned 4 and 5 rental properties. And normally the problem with strippers is they get paid in cash, I'm told, my experience in talking to them to pre-qualify them. And they don't make that much money, most commonly. And as a result, it'd be unlikely that you'd find regularly, maybe one, we all can work hard and save money, but unlikely you'd have multiple strippers in one place who would own multiple properties. And what they were finding out was that because they qualify by not even stating what they did for income or how much they made, they could buy multiple properties. That's not true today. Today, you have to qualify. Today, you have to have good credit. You have to have verifiable income. You have to have some down payment, unless you're a veteran, though there's special programs that might help you along the way. So a 4,000 foot level site, I also have a YouTube channel where I regularly watch the market. And I share with you another difference between today and 2008 and 9 is back then there were a lot of houses available for sale. Today, there's very few. In order for prices to go down, there has to be too many houses for sale. We're a long ways from that happening. So that said, if you look at the market from a 40,000 foot view down, rather than being on the market looking at a house, you should feel comfortable that if you can afford the property, if you lock in a great payment for the next 30 years, it's a great time, never better time to buy a house than right now. It's a great hedge against inflation. Now, one of the challenges for home buyers is qualifying for the good financing. And one challenge along the way there is credit. So we invited in today a friend, Jeffrey Igel, who works runs, as far as we're concerned, On Track Credit Path. And it's a company that really helps people looking to buy houses get their credit squared away so they can either qualify to buy a house and, or more importantly, qualify for a better loan and save money, save much more than the cost of service. So Jeffrey, welcome to our call today.
Well, thank you, Bill. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Patricia, for also offering me this chance to bring some of this information to you. You know, a lot of the stuff you said, Bill, first and foremost, I'm actually in California right now. So when you mentioned your question earlier, I'm actually out here doing educational workshops that are live and in person.
Nice.
Now, you mentioned some stuff a lot about what went on in the past. So I'm going to give you a little bit of quick background on myself. I've been around the banking and credit business for 17 years. I went into specifically only the credit business about 11 or 12 years ago when all the foreclosures started coming abroad. All the information you brought up about the different loans, where you could do stated loans, no document loans, things like that to put people in a very difficult position. At that time, I had already been doing workshops for 6 years. And what I found was when we do a workshop, the thing about doing educational workshops was to be able to bring information to people that's specifically right on target for what's going on in the last 48 hours. You know, when we used to go to the library years ago, we'd go into the library and the books would be 10, 15 years old. Now we have the internet. We go on there and now they have 2.5 billion results. So we're never going to be able to read everything. And generally, a lot of that information will be contradicting itself. So being able to do a homebuyer workshop and bring that with an expert realtor as well as a lender was crucial, because now you can walk out of that room with exactly what you needed to know. So when I moved to the credit side specifically was because an accounting firm, they felt concerned because they had been around 30 years. They're the ones that own On Track. What happened with them is they were getting so many questions about these foreclosures. Am I going to lose my home? Do I have a foreclosure? Even though they were nowhere near that, when the news and everything was coming out, they just didn't know. They're like, should my wife close her credit card? And for them, when you have a $10 million account, you don't want to tell the person sitting in front of you, yes, have your wife close a credit card if that's not a good idea. So they created On Track Credit Path. So since then, and again, they've been around over 10 years. They were designed to help people get in a position to where they can move forward with their credit to purchase a larger ticket item. It was basically designed for people that wanted better credit or are trying to get a home, investment property, commercial property, in a business loan, things along those lines where all of the credit bureaus are important. So they brought me in because I did workshops. I'm pretty much their educator across the country, but I teach people, I teach agents. As you are both related with EXP, I do business with EXP across the country. And I couldn't tell anybody more than you need experts in this lifetime right now. You need an expert realtor to buy a house. You need an expert lender. You need an expert credit service, but not a credit service that you're going to be with for your whole life. So that kind of gives you an idea about who I am, but I want to tell you a little bit about what On Track is. On Track was designed to do everything different than what you know about credit services. Credit services are the kind of things that have had difficulties in the past. What On Track did was they created exactly the opposite of those things. With On Track is a full service credit improvement, credit building, establishing credit service, where we educate the consumer throughout the entire process. Now we're a short-term service. We're not like the cable company that you're going to be with for your whole life. We always do a free review with every consumer, and that's because we want to make sure the potential's there to work with you, to help you to get to your goals, but we also want to make sure that we can help you. If we feel that you need a different type of expertise, we'll actually ask the consumer to not sign up with us right now, and we'll give you a better suggestion. And you could come back to us later. So in essence, the things that are important about OnTrack is we're a short-term service. We're a month-to-month service. Now, when we do your free review, we always do that so that we can get an idea about how long it's going to be. Is it 4 to 5 months, 5 to 6 months, 3 to 4 months, 7 to 8 months, those kind of things. But you never sign up with us that long. So OnTrack is designed to be a 1 month at a time service, no cancellation fees, no early cancellation fees. Our number one goal is to get your consumer to your goal. And that's to help the professional in the realtor as well as the lender. So we actually work to help you get to the point where you can get over the hump when it comes to some of the difficulties in credit. When I took the credit side, I was previously a lender, but by law, you can't be a lender and a credit improvement provider. You can only be in the one or the other. And with all the foreclosures back then and the way credit reports looked, I just felt this was the best avenue. Now with OnTrack, they aren't here for your whole life. Most credit services are 1, 2, 3, 4 years, and you lose track of your realtor as well as your lender throughout that process. We made sure that that would never happen. As you, as a consumer, as you're trying to get your credit better, if you need our services, we connect right up with your realtor so they can follow along as your credit improves, as well as your lender. So everybody's on the same page here. We all want you to get the same thing. As odd as it sounds, we're kind of the first step if you need our services. And I always tell people, you know, as a realtor, they get to show you the house with the pool and the jacuzzi. The lender gets to give you a suitcase full of money. And then comes a credit service. We got nothing good to say. Okay, so nobody likes us at all. But we actually get you to the dance, and then you move on from us. That's why we want you to understand we're not a lifetime service. You're going to be with us for a handful of months, so we can do a lot of the heavy lifting to fix your credit profile and get your credit score higher. So as you go through that process, we do 90% of the work. So this is the part that the consumer likes the most because, you know, credit is stressful. When we pull up our credit reports, we all have credit reports. 300 million Americans have credit reports, and they're all different. When you pull it up, what's the first thing you think? Oh my gosh, that's who I am. And it's not actually true. I've looked at over 20,000 credit reports, and I think only 100 of them are right. So we want people to understand it's not about what's in the report right now, because it's a computer. The credit bureaus are separate and they house information. They don't fix information. So it's not a person who's judging you. It's a computer that houses our information. That's where OnTrack steps in. So that kind of gives you a little bit about who we are. And what I want to just do is give you a little bit of information in a simple form so that you can take this information with you about credit. So when it comes to credit bureaus, there's 3 credit bureaus. There's actually 4. And the 4th one is LexisNexis. It's actually another bureau that actually houses our information, actually more information than all of the other 3 combined. The only difference is it doesn't have a credit score. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up to you is because a lot of times when you're buying a home, when they pull your credit, those are real credit reports from the bank or mortgage company. They might have something on there that has something with LexisNexis. Now, OnTrack will go after that also to make sure that we can get you in a better score position. Now, when it comes to credit scores, they go from 300 to 850. That's the whole world of credit score. No more, no less. So wherever you're at, you're at. A lot of times people will look at their credit report and they'll go, oh my gosh, I only have one problem. I have a 620 credit score. I see the one problem. Now I'll have an 850. And actually, it doesn't work that way. The average person has 15 to 25 issues in their credit report. Now, a lot of times, remember, credit may not be your expertise. And why would it unless you're in that business? Just like a realtor, And just like a lender, you need an expert on your side when you're making a larger ticket purchase. The things that Bill mentioned, keep in mind, if those back in the day when they were doing those types of loans, if you had an expert realtor and an expert lender that really knew what was going on, you could really help that person to avoid those kind of loans and those kind of circumstances, so the difficulties didn't happen in the future. Now, when it comes to the credit negatives, we like people to understand stuff about how credit works. So picture this, you have 3 credit bureaus that mainly have scores on, which is TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Now they have no connection together. They don't have any of the same information. They don't even like each other. So that's why whenever you look at your report, you're like, hey, why is TransUnion 700 and why is Equifax 600? And that's what happens sometimes. But what most people don't realize is difficulties cause a lot of problems in our credit report. But doing the right thing is really important. So paying our bills on time is actually the most important thing to do. Never miss a payment. The difficulty about missing a payment is this. Most people that we meet, they're like, oh, my credit score is 620. I pay all my bills on time. So the issue is when you pay your bills on time, you only get 1 point every month. That's it, 1. So if you're at 600, next month you'll be at 601 or maybe 602. That's it. But what happens on the other side is when you miss a payment, this is why paying your bills on time is really important. OnTrack steps in to get rid of a lot of the late payments that probably aren't because of your fault. We want you to understand that. That's why I said there's so few reports that are actually correct. But picture this. Now, you miss a credit card payment. You're going to lose 25 to 35 points overnight. 1 payment. So picture if you missed 2, what it would be like. But let's just go with 1 here. So 25 to 35 points. Let's say you miss a utility bill, gas, electric, water, those. That's 40 to 50 points. Let's say you miss an auto payment. That's 60 to 85 to 90 points you're going to lose in 1 day. That's why a lot of times, a lot of people don't realize credit changes every day of your life. It can go up or down or stay the same. Most people don't realize that. We don't check our credit every day, and we should never do that. You do not want to check your credit, because unless you're using your credit, you do want to keep tabs on it, but you do not want to get pages and pages of inquiries. They bring your score down just as fast as missed payments. Now, when it comes to like a mortgage, if you miss a mortgage payment, that's 75 to 125 points overnight, 1 payment. Now, when you get a collection, the oddity about collections is collections on the credit report don't matter on how much they are. So if you have a $5,000 collection and you have a $50 collection, you're going to lose the same amount. The credit report doesn't care about the money. The lender cares about the money more when they go to pre-approve you, but the credit report does not. It's how it's categorized. So a lot of times we'll see people that have $50, $89 collections, and the first thing they do when they see it is they run out and pay it. But we want you to understand, once you pay that collection, your score is going to drop, because you're taking an older collection and you're creating it to be an immediate, up-to-date collection. So the credit report, again, it's an algorithm. It's not a person. Even though, yes,
so we're getting a little in the weeds here, and this is great information. I mean, I appreciate it. But I know that some of the people on our call and some people listening on social media are really here looking to buy a home. They're not sure. They're not sure if they qualify. They're concerned they might not qualify, not know what to do. And so here's what I want to say. If I could just stop you 1 second.
Sure.
Which is the first step when you talk to us, we talk to Patricia or me about buying a house, is we're going to talk to you about getting pre-approved with a lender, which is like taking your diagnostics. What can you qualify for? What can you afford? Make sure you know what the costs are so that you can make a decision as to what you want and what you can afford. And if you can't afford what you want, whether because your credit score is not where it needs to be, or by improving credit score, you can save some money, that's when then we're going to turn around and then say, hey, here's an option is you can talk to Jeff in OnTrack and improve your credit score. And if you can get it up 40 points, you'll save 0.25% in the rate, and that will mean $80 a month for 30 years. It's a good deal, and we can move you forward there. So what I want you to think about, if you don't really know what you're doing or don't know what to ask, I want you to know that we're here. We have Jeffrey here as a resource if and when it makes sense for you to improve your credit score in order to qualify, or if that's what's holding you back, we can get a lender for free to at least run a credit score for you, let you see where you are diagnostically, and then you can have the power to make the decision if you want to try to improve it through a service like this. So that's what I want to make sure you understand. You don't need to start with the credit work. You don't need to go there first. This is really part of the process you might want to do to improve yourself. And even if you start looking for houses, it might take 2 or 3 months to find your house. In that time, Jeffrey might be able to improve your score and save you thousands of dollars. I want to just kind of stop for a second also. Anybody have any questions on this? I know we covered a lot, and we want this to be interactive. Our vision of this program is, and I know some people watching on social media as well. If you jump in there, I'll be glad to try to catch your questions. If you're catching this on a recording and ask a question, I will do my best to get back to it and answer it. But do you have any questions? Anybody here either want to raise their hand on the Zoom or put in chat box if you have a question, or ask to meet yourself, and I'd be more glad to give you a chance to do that. Do we have any questions real quick before we go forward? Let me just give it another few seconds. Anybody have any questions they want to ask? And I know that some of this can be overwhelming. So let me ask a couple, Jeff, if I could. So imagine that I met with a lender and we decided that I want to buy a house, and I don't know how much I qualify for, and I share my income, and I share my assets, my bank accounts and such, and what I want to buy. And the lender says, well, your credit score is here, and this is the payment, but if it was higher, at what point do I reach out to you? Does a lender reach out to you? Do I reach out to you as a buyer? Does the agent do that for you? And what does that look like? How does that process go from, gee, there's a chance here I might be able to save some money, to reaching out to you and getting that evaluation you talked about?
You know, Bill, thanks for stepping in also. I do want to mention what you just said. Everything starts with the pre-approval. It never gets to the realtor till it's been pre-approved through a lender. We are the second part of that process. If a lender, like what you mentioned in your scenario, what happens is a lender, if you're trying to get to a certain level, and your credit score is interfering with where your rate is going to be, or where your down payment is going to be, or where your PMI is going to be, that's where they may reach out to us. We always do a free review with the consumer, but it's about trying to get them to their goal. What we do as if it's something where their credit score, I'll give you an example. We help people with credit scores down to 400. But half of our business is with people at 680 and above, trying to get a higher credit score so they can get a lower interest rate and a lower down payment. When you're stepping into a market where you're going to need 10% or 15% when you may be able to do 5% just because of your credit score, that's where the lender reaches out to us. Not everybody needs us. We're a great avenue for questions, but what we do though, is as a person, if let's say they do start with us and we start getting their credit score higher, we start evaluating their credit profile to try to show them ways to bring down interest rates within their credit report on items now that their credit is getting better. What that does is, I'll use a car as an example. In a lot of cases, unless you have a premium credit score, you're going to overpay on your automobile per month. So we want you to go refinance it so you can open up another $200 or $300 a month for your lender to add for that neighborhood. So the realtor has a stronger pre-approval letter. And all that kind of happens with us. But it is all tied to credit score. And again, that's usually something driven because most of the people that come through our company are from banks, mortgage companies, real estate companies, things like that are buying larger purchases, and they have a goal in mind. Our processing and legal department tear it apart to figure out those things to help you and your client, as well as the lender, to be able to increase their credit score and lower some of those items. And that's what's important.
Could be worth thousands and thousands of dollars.
Oh my gosh, it's tremendous. The other part is, Bill, just so you know, with our service, and I did specify a lot about how we're more of a short-term service.
Yeah.
When you leave our service, you have better credit.
Right.
So it's not like you have better credit for a day or 2 weeks. You have better credit. We'll educate you about those things so you can grow your credit. And what it does is it helps the consumer be able to buy more properties, like a second home investment property, where they're not having to have the highest interest rate. Once you have better credit and you understand how it works, it really helps. It
Definitely.
helps the consumer.
Definitely. I see Patricia, you have your hand up.
Yes. Hi, everybody. So, Jeff, I had a question for, I've had this come up recently where someone didn't have enough credit. So we're talking about a younger millennial buyer. And if they don't have enough established credit, is that something that you can help them with as well to help raise their FICO score by improving their credit, by establishing more credit?
With OnTrack, that's part of the service. What we do when they first come on board, whatever the credit profile is, we don't have them run out and just pay off a bunch of bills. We don't even know if they owe anything. For instance, let's say they don't have, there's a certain amount of credit that's important in every credit profile. Our processing department will determine how many positive items they need going forward. We work with 6 or 7 different credit card companies. These are Visas and MasterCards only. Very small, $200 and $300 limits, but they're excellent for your credit. Visas and MasterCards are the strongest things to have within your credit profile. The reason why I bring those up and that they're so small is here's another place where the dollar amount is irrelevant. It doesn't matter how, if you have a $10,000 limit, you're not getting a better benefit than someone with a $300 limit. It's about the item and how it's in your report. We do that also because we don't need them breaking the bank. We don't need a consumer getting 3 $10,000 credit cards. We're trying to help them get to a place where their debt to income ratio with their lender can help them in the areas that they're looking to buy a home. But yes, we help them establish it. We send them the information. If they have enough positive credit, we will not suggest any new credit. If they need 1 item or 2, 3 would be the most. But the company will determine that. They'll send them out the links to be able to apply for their own credit. And this will help them dramatically. But it has to be done at the right time. That's why a lot of people who go out and apply for credit don't get the credit because they're not doing it properly, or they're following things they get in the mailbox. And before you know it, they have a lot of inquiries that are now hurting them in the future to get good, strong credit.
Right. Yeah. And I think the one message I would tell anybody who's thinking of buying a house this year, not this week, but this year or next year, is start the process now. Find out what's going to cost, what's going to cost you monthly, what's going to cost you as an initial investment, and then check your credit. And do you qualify now? And if not, what do you need to do to qualify? Or if you do qualify now, you can use the time while you're saving more money or getting more comfortable to get your credit work done. And it's a quick calculation how much you can save monthly versus the investment. And for most people, it's going to be worth it if you have the time to do it. So look, we've gone a little bit to the end of the half hour. So I want to, last chance, anybody have any questions that they want to ask who's watching? If you want to you can raise your hand on the Zoom hand raise, or you can put a note in the chat box. I'll pick you up real fast. Anybody have any questions that they want to add? We want to make it as participative as we can. I encourage you to, there's no question that's not worthwhile. And if you have that question, somebody else will as well. Anybody have any last minute questions for us?
Come on, guys. This is the time to get expert advice from this credit repair specialist. So jump in. Don't be shy.
Yeah.
We can all learn from all of our questions.
And as we talked about, last week, if you were on the call, that so much about real estate and buying your first house is about your mindset, transforming your mindset. Part of that is participating, asking questions. It's a team game. We need to work together. We're not asking you to give us any money today. We're not asking you to write a check for anything today. We're just saying, let's help you. If you have a question, that's part of the first step. Let's see if we can help you at least learn some information. So last call, any questions, you can raise your hand on the chat, on the Zoom, or you can put it in the chat box, a quick okay, or if you just want to wave your hand, I'll catch you and unmute you. We have to keep everybody muted for security reasons, unfortunately. Okay, not seeing anybody. Look, Jeffrey, thank you so much for explaining your program and product. And we're going to keep you as a preferred vendor here. So when we have people in the future who get further down the track and are ready to improve their score or qualify if they don't, we're going to encourage them to reach out to you. So thank you so much. If somebody wanted more information or wanted to reach out to you, how would they do that today?
Well, I'll just give you my email and my direct number. That would be a simple way to do it at this point.
Okay.
My direct number is 630-745-0216. You can also email us at jeff@ontrackcreditpath.com, or you can go to the website and there's a place for you to just where it says I'm new here, and then you can just put in your name, email address, and phone number. And since you were on this workshop with Bill and with Patricia, it'll come through and they'll send it over to me and I'll reach out to you to answer those questions.
Mostly since it's Patricia, I don't really kind of get that extra discount.
No problem.
Patricia does, but she does. So it's in the chat box, Jeff@ontrackcreditpath.com, Jeff@ontrackcreditpath.com. His phone number is 630-745-0216. We'll put that in the description and the social media. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate your time today. Thank you, Patricia, as always, for being on the call. And those of you who are on the call, thank you. Thank you for being there, Larry and Quanshatisha. Thank you for being on the call, Larry and Alice and Patricia. Thank you, guys. Have a great week. Well, next week, we're going to talk about how to take advantage of the shifting market. There's great opportunities for buyers. It's been a tough market for the last year. Things might be opening up for you. We'll talk about some opportunities for you to get into that first home next week. So thanks again, every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye now.